And we are rolling on September 27th in part 2 of our discussion and discovering what happened when we radiate respect. And we are about to hear a report from Allie, who's going to tell us her experience with radiating respect.
Hi, I'm Allie.
Hi, Allie.
Hi, I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about my experiment where I tried to non-verbally communicate with others and I respect them. I'm also the type that likes to end on a good note, so I'm going to start with the bad and the ugly and go from there. I am from the Midwest, so around there it's very normal to walk by people and people who are passing by, to make eye contact, to wave, to show some kind of gesture that you acknowledge them, that you respect them. And so living in LA for a little over a week now, it's definitely a different culture, and just walking down Bruin Walk and seeing people pass by, I've tried really hard to look at people and smile and like make eye contact, and people respond back with weird looks, blank stares, and the worst of all, complete disregard for my attempt. They'll look at their phone, they'll look the other way, and it's kind of frustrating, but especially coming from somewhere where I'm so used to people saying hi to me or even just acknowledging my existence when I'm walking by. And so I experienced a little more severe situation at the football game on Saturday. As most of you know, if you went, it was super hot, and so we left with a couple of my friends, we left the stands to go get some shade. And so when we came back, there were people standing in at the end of the seats where we were trying to get in, and so they obviously would have to stand up in order for us to get by. And so at first we just started with the "excuse me, may I get by?" and they either didn't hear us or completely ignored us. And so I was like, okay, so here's my chance to look at them, smile at them, get some kind of connection going here. And so I attempted that, and they kind of looked back at me and then shuffled a little bit and didn't say anything, didn't like stand up, and so it was very uncomfortable. We had to step over them and like step on their feet, and it was just a bad situation. So when we went and sat down, we looked over and a couple of them were glaring at us, and it was just very uncomfortable that they didn't catch that we were trying to respect them and notice that they were sitting there, and we simply just needed them to stand up to walk by. But no worries, the day got a little better. We took another break, and while we were standing in the shade, there was a couple that was walking up to us, and I simply smiled at the lady, and it like sparked a conversation instantly. She walked over to us and started talking about how hot it was and where we're from and what major we're like interested in. And it was really cool to see that although some people, or earlier in the day someone took it the wrong way, that now it sparked a conversation like that. And so although it was very discouraging at times, walking from Bruin Walk and having to step over people who didn't catch our kind of nonverbal cue there, it's very important to remember to try and respect everyone and repeat that mantra over and over again. And I also learned that people receive forms of communication very differently, and that some people, so for example, the people on Bruin Walk or the people at the game maybe thought that a smile or eye contact was less meaningful than actually verbally communicating with them, whereas the lady that came up and talked to us thought a smile was perfect, or that she felt comfortable with coming up to us. And so that's just one thing I hope to remember, is to keep an open mind about how people are going to respond to your forms of communication very differently, and that it's still, no matter what reason that is or what they're comfortable with, that it's still important to show some kind of respect.
Sure. Thank you. 333.
Hi, I'm Laura.
Hi, Laura.
And I really like how you rearranged the format of the speech to better fit your personal stories and just like how you are as a person. It made it more personal and like better overall, better flow. Thank you.
And one thing in flipping the order, it was an attention grabber because it was unexpected. And so, he's doing the ugly first. Ooh, interesting. Improvement, please.
Hi, I'm Magali.
Hi, Magali.
I think your speech overall was really good. I'm trying to find something. Maybe just the same thing that I was doing, maybe your hands a lot, because when someone mentioned it, then I was thinking you're doing it and you're doing it too, but that's sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. One thing I'm reluctant to say much about, do something about your hands, because when I say that, people keep them stiffly by their side and don't move them at all. And I don't want that. But just watch and see what you're doing and try to have an increased awareness of what your hands are doing. Where are you from in the Midwest?
I'm from Kansas City.
Kansas City. I'm from Nebraska, so I have a similar cultural, shock
Yeah.
to Los Angeles, but that's life. I liked your intro and your sharing with us where you were from, and that was interesting. On the bad, yes. I think that that was expected, and but you don't take it personally. You keep trying. On the ugly, I couldn't help but think and wonder what role beer played in the when people get a little beer in them, they become a little less loving and a little more like, why are you bothering me? But it was an interesting story, and I'm glad you were thinking that you were radiating respect, but you tried to get it. And the good, the smile, which is an outgrowth of saying the mantra, you notice the smile does draw people to you and brings people to, closer to you. What I would like to just say, and watch yourself tonight and you'll see what I mean, is don't lose the narrative in even though you had a unique one. You say, so now the good, and now let me summarize, and what did I learn? And then close. But overall, you did a very nice job, and just a little thing with your hands. But I like that you tried, and you were, sincerely trying to do the experiment. So thank you. Okay, next.
Go ahead.
They're rushing forward. Great. Okay, Leslie, take a half step forward, please. Okay. Good. Leslie stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi, my name is Leslie.
Hi, Leslie.
So respect is more than just a 7-letter word. It carries a lot of meaning to it. Showing respect is showing eye contact, your body language. It shows that you care, that you're listening, that you think that the person you're talking to is important. It can be either nonverbal or verbal, and you can feel it. It's not just seeing it. You can feel respect, and it's very important. It makes us feel better, and it makes the environment around us better. So with this experiment, I didn't really I understood it, but I didn't think it was actually going to work. I was like, I don't think so. But I noticed that the more I tried it, the more I did it, the better I felt, and the more I caught myself opening the door for people and smiling at people. So there's a good memory on it, the good. So I was in my dorm, I was going to my dorm, I was catching the elevator, and there was a guy there. So when I was walking in, we made eye contact, and I gave him a slight nod. In my head, I repeated the mantra. I said, I respect you. And then a few seconds later, he turns around and he introduces himself to me. He shakes my hand, and I just thought, I was like, wow, this actually really works. The energy you put out is the energy people receive. So the bad. I was walking through Bruin Walk, and there was a lot of people, everyone knows, it's very busy. So we live in a world where everyone needs to get to work, needs to get to class, and they're not really paying attention to the world around them. But I would try to make eye contact, but no one was having it. No one wanted to look at me, and I just felt like my respect was going unnoticed. And I was noticing them, but they weren't noticing me. And the ugly. This was actually pretty funny. Me and my best friend were walking through, we were really close to the dining hall, And we were talking, two random guys we didn't know just came up to us and they introduced themselves to us. So we were shaking hands. I made sure to look at them both in the eyes, and I said, I respect you. And a few seconds later, they asked us if we had 19p, so if we could swipe them in into the dining hall because they wanted to eat. I was like, what? Like, I don't know you guys. Like, it's crazy. But it made me feel like sometimes people will acknowledge your respect, and sometimes we'll try to take advantage of it, but we shouldn't let them. But what I learned is sometimes your respect, sometimes people will acknowledge it, sometimes they'll go unnoticed, or sometimes people just will take advantage of it, but we should still put it out there. Our respect, it should still go out there, because when you do, you feel better, and we make the world better, and we can always make the world better. So regardless of what happens, when you meet someone, if you see someone, make sure to make eye contact and just say, I respect you. And more than likely, something good will come out of it.
Thank you. 240.
Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
And I really like your speech because I feel like I actually kind of felt your personality shine through what you were saying. I feel like I kind of understand who you are as a person, both through just like the way you spoke and what you were saying, and you were just really personable all around. So
Yeah,
I thought that was really
interesting.
good.
Yeah, that's true. Improvement?
Hi, my name's Nicole, and like she said,
Hi,
I really
Nicole.
liked your speech. I really felt like we kind of knew you. The only thing I would say is maybe slow down a little bit. Don't worry so much about it. You know, who are we to you? Just get more involved in the story. It's really good though.
Yeah. Yeah, you were zipping right along, and you had there's a lot of time left that you could have used. So I think that was just a factor of your nervousness that you were, wanting to get it done, right? Leslie. Well, you said respect is more than a 7-letter word, and you described it as, and kind of gave us a definition in the beginning and that sort of thing, and talked about body language and so forth, and so you gave us a definition. But I like the best part of what you said that I liked was that you could feel it, and when people are radiating respect, it comes through. And I like the idea that when you are radiating, it makes for a better environment and better situation. I'd like to see you with your voice have a stronger sense of what your preview was going to be, the good, the bad, the ugly, with you really boom it out so we know it's coming and it's where you're going and right like that. I like the good, that you noticed that it worked and that it stay in the power stance. Good habit to be into. I like that you noticed that it worked when you were radiating respect, and it's true, it does, I can tell you. And on the bad, remember I warned you, most people are not going to notice you, but this is for your benefit, so you develop the habit by practicing it till it becomes a habit. Then on the ugly, people came up to you because you were approachable and you were radiating respect, and they were disrespecting you by trying to use you to get a free meal at I-19 or whatever the hell it was, 19p, whatever that means. And I hope you told them to go pound sand or something. But anyway, that's a real manipulative thing, and it's what we talked about when people are misusing rhetorical principles. I'll be nice, and then they'll swipe me in, But I'm glad you saw through it. You said what you learned from the experience, and that was correct. Like to see you slow down and emphasize key words. If you go through and yellow words that you want to emphasize as you're going through it, and then practice it that way, it'll be more interesting. But I want to return to the first comment that was made, which was that your personality did come through. And don't lose that, because you're a very likable person, and I got that, and that came through, so that was good. Thank you. Okay, next. Thank you. Laura stands before you. Ooh, you're tall. Okay. Managing attention. Communicating respect, non-verbally. Finding friendly eyes near the front of the center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, I'm Laura.
Hi, Laura.
And over the past 5 or 6 days, like the rest of you, I sought to non-verbally communicate respect to everyone I met. At first, this assignment was a little bit difficult for me because I forgot to make the active effort to actually communicate respect during my interactions. But as the days went on, and I remembered to say the mantra, I respect you, over and over again in my head, I actually found myself with a new sense of awareness. I became more aware of everything from my facial expressions to my hand gestures, and just how my mannerisms affected other people. So overall, I noticed 3 things from this experiment. 1 is that it helped me break bad habits. And then 2, that I was actually put in some kind of uncomfortable situations by repeating the mantra, I respect you, over again in my head. And finally 3, that I started questioning the ways that people viewed me. So that would be the good, the bad, and the ugly of this experiment. The best part was definitely that I was able to break some bad habits. I use my phone as a security blanket whenever I want to avoid an uncomfortable situation or just don't want to talk to someone. I pull out my phone and just fiddle around with it, pretend like I'm texting or something. And this experiment made me realize that that action is inherently very disrespectful because you're just ignoring people. So this week I made the conscious effort to put my phone in my back pocket or put it in my backpack whenever I was interacting with people. And I eventually made to the point where I left my phone in my room when I went to go have dinner at the dining halls with my friends. And I found that when I did this, I had deeper conversations, I was less distracted, and I just overall had a better interaction with these people. And while leaving your phone in your room to go have dinner probably wouldn't seem that impressive to those of an older generation like my parents, this was actually a pretty big deal for me, being a young college student who's always had technology at their beck and call. But the worst part of this experiment also came from me putting my phone down. I saw that I was getting approached more and more, specifically on Bruinwalk. And don't get me wrong, I love being approached by people, I love making friends, I love talking to people, but I found that when I'm walking class on Bruinwalk sometimes, I just want to get to class, I don't want to talk to the flyers, I just kind of want to be ignored. But when I put my phone in my backpack, the flyers approached me and I was forced to discover ways to respectfully decline their advances. I had to acknowledge them and say, no thank you, maybe later. Or sometimes I'd have to stand there and listen to them talk and acknowledge them and be sympathetic to their causes. The ugliest part of this experiment didn't actually come from me talking to strangers, it came from me talking to my own friends. In general, I'm a very sarcastic person and have an insanely dry sense of humor. So when I suddenly became very respectful and sincere this week, my friends were very confused. A lot of them even called me creepy. And I was pretty insulted by that because you don't really want to think that you're disrespectful to your friends. But I realized that after knowing them for so long and living with them for a year now, I've probably become too cavalier, too comfortable with them, so I forget to make the active effort to be respectful. So I need to realize the effect that my sarcastic tone and my specific mannerisms has on them and take it back a little bit and try to be more respectful towards them. And despite my sarcastic tone, I've always considered myself a pretty polite person. But the main thing I learned this week is that being polite isn't enough to be respectful. You have to be sympathetic, you have to acknowledge other people, you have to be present in all interactions, and you have to notice the effect that your specific mannerisms has on other people. This week I noticed how the effect that my phone and my sarcastic tone has on other people, and now hopefully I can make the effort to be more present in conversations and fix these problems without having to repeat the mantra, I respect you, over and over again in my head.
Thank you. Okay, where are we? Here, yeah, please.
Hi, I'm Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
I thought you did a really good job with your speech overall. I liked your stories that you introduced. The only thing I would say for you for improvement would be that you were looking at the ground more than you were looking at the people around you. Maybe you were trying to remember your speech, but just make better eye contact with the people, your audience.
That's an excellent suggestion, Michelle. Thank you. Improvement?
Hi, I'm Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
I also thought you did an exceptional job with your speech. Your hand movements were a lot more natural than some of the other students. And I was going to actually say the same thing, that your eye contact, you tended to look above and below, and as if you're trying to like cool your thoughts and avoid eye contact. And also, I think you could focus on your tone a little more to stress what you're trying to say. But again, overall, you did a really good job.
Thanks.
Laura, let's do a eye contact exercise with you so you can practice that. If you could take a couple of steps over toward this side of the room, and I'd like you to undo your hands, let them be by your side. I'd like you to speak and tell us about your morning.
Okay.
Wait, hang on just a minute. You gotta get a close-up of your eyes. No blinking when you make eye contact.
Am I looking at the camera? Or at
No,
the
you're
audience?
looking at your audience.
Great.
And you're making eye contact, and you're looking to make 5 seconds of eye contact when you stare at your audience.
Okay.
And I'm going to count it out, and if you blink, I start the timer over again, because that means you're losing contact with your audience.
Okay.
So start here with this young lady, and tell us about your morning, and when I tap, you may go on to this lady, then this lady, then this lady, okay? So just talk and begin.
So this morning my roommate had an 8 a.m. and I did not. So I woke up when she turned on the Keurig to make coffee, and that was not that great. But then I fell back asleep, and I woke up and made cereal for breakfast because I was too lazy to go to a dining hall. And then I got dressed and got ready to go to Econ 1, in which I sat in that class for an hour and 15 minutes and listened to the professor, and it was actually pretty interesting. I think I like Econ, which I did not expect. And
Okay. Did you feel the difference
yeah,
of what you were doing?
yeah, I noticed myself look up once, but then I like pulled
Yeah,
it back
I
down.
started the clock over when you did.
Okay.
But do you feel the difference? Did you feel the connection?
Yeah.
Did you feel the connection? Yes. And that's what you're after. You were just like acting like an actress during your speech, out here or down there. And there are people out here that want to be connected with. And so that's what we're after. Okay, you can come back to center. Let me talk a little bit more about your speech. Yeah. Well, you had an introduction that was pretty nice. You kind of set up what was happening and told us that you had a bunch of bad habits, and then you gave us a really nice and detailed preview about your bad habits, and segued nicely into your the good, the bad, the ugly. So we knew where you were going and what you were going to do, and that was excellent. Just a little bit more with the voice. Good, right? You know, push it out there. On that, you told us that you used the phone as a crutch, and that you've given it up, and that was excellent. I would like to think that the repeating the mantra caused you to give up the phone. See? And you can repeat the mantra as you're sitting listening to people and radiate respect as you're listening. This will cause you to be a better listener, and you don't have to stop now that you've given up your phone, but still use it in your everyday conversations and activities. On the bad, yes, I warned you that the people will either ignore you, or if you don't have a distraction, they will crowd up to you, and you have to discover respectful ways to say no thank you firmly and move on, and you did. One more thing, which is when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, you will see that your voice was occasionally shaking. And this has to do with the fact that you weren't breathing deeply enough. So if you find yourself nervous, and your breathing becomes shallow, that's what causes your voice to shake. And so what you want to do is in the middle, if you find your voice shaking, just take a moment and just take in a deep breath and let it out, and then you'll be back to a normal breathing pattern and your voice will stop shaking. Okay? So watch for that. On the, I guess it was the bad about your friends being freaked out that you were changing, and I guess you were kind of insulted because you were suddenly a little, I guess, nicer or kinder or something that was, and you were kind of insulted by that because you felt you were already that way or something. I don't know. I didn't quite get that, but and they thought you were kind of creepy. But I would still encourage you to be respectful to your friends and work out this dry sense of humor problem that you seem to have. I like what you learned. I don't agree that you can stop repeating the mantra. I'd encourage you to do so, but you did a nice job. Just incorporate some of the things that I said. Thank you, Laura. Okay, here comes next. Great. Okay, Caroline stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love. Start your speech.
Hi, my name is Caroline.
Hi, Caroline. Get in the power stance, please, and stay there. Yeah, good.
So I would like to tell you about my weekend of respecting others, but first I'd like to share with you a quote by Bryant H. McGill, and it says that the most sincere form of communicating respect is by actually listening to what people have to say, which I think is very fitting for all of our speeches because it is respectful just to listen to them, and active listening is a huge thing. So when I first started the whole communicating respect after our lecture, I was like, nonverbal is kind of weird, right? So you have to communicate respect. I'm one of those people that if I respect someone, I'll say something to them that shows that I respect them. So I thought it was just a little strange and different that I had to communicate non-verbally with them. So I had a few experiences that made me think of another quote, actually, by Maya Angelou, who said that people will forget what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. So I thought about, I just need to make people feel like I respect them, not by saying anything. So I did have good, bad, and ugly experiences, and at first I'm going to talk to you about the bad one. So as many of you already said, I also went through recruitment this week, which was a very actually fitting for this whole respect thing. So my bad experience wasn't necessarily having to do with other people, but more of me trying to figure out how I needed to communicate respect myself. So instead of having a bad experience with other people, I actually had a bad experience with myself, where I was trying to compliment people on superficial things. Like, oh, you look so nice today. One girl in a sorority, I loved her shoes. So obviously I complimented her on her shoes, but then I thought, that's not really respectful. Even though she remembered it the next day that I had said something about her shoes, that's kind of like skin deep. It's not a super great way to tell someone that you respect them by looking at the outside. So I was like, shoot, kind of messed that one up. So then for the ugly, I also had a bad experience at Jamba Juice, where I was standing in line and I was, waiting to get my order. And when I got up, I remembered how we had talked about the difference between thank you and thank you so much. So I decided I'm going to say thank you so much to the cashier after she takes my order. So I got up there and I said it, and I was pretty enthusiastic, and I was like, oh, good for me, I did it, But then she was kind of confused and kind of looked like she was laughing at me and didn't really know what to say, and promptly said next, and I walked away kind of embarrassed. I was like, oh, that didn't really work out. I think I was just a little too try to force it on, and I don't really know. But I did have a good experience at the end of recruitment. I started noticing a pattern with the houses that I really connected with. I was having real, genuine conversations with them, and it was because we were both listening to each other, making eye contact, like actively paying attention to what other people were saying, which is like the quote that I said at the beginning of my speech, how the most sincere respect is actually caring about what people are saying to you. And that's, you know, the people that I talked to during recruitment that I really had the connection with were those people that I felt like cared about what I was saying, were listening to me. And as I threw that respect on them, they also threw it back on me. So basically what I learned through this whole thing is that saying thank you so much and complimenting people on the way that they look are kind of things that won't always work for everyone, things that you should do normally, things that communicate respect maybe a bit, but not always in the right way. And I think that the most people that I have found feel the respect that you give them when you actually just listen to what they're saying, and when you say meaningful things to them, head nods, eye contact. So basically everything that we've been doing while watching all of these speeches today with the active listening is the best way to communicate respect in my opinion.
Thank you. 3:30. Okay, we're somewhere back in the back. Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Anand.
What's your name?
Anand.
Anand. Hi, Anand.
I really liked how you approached it differently and talked about listening instead of actually like smiling or just eye contact. And that was a really good way to approach respecting someone's number.
Yeah, it's different, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Anand. Improvement?
I'm Evan.
Hi, Evan.
I actually have only one good thing to say, which was you're very enthusiastic. I think you always had my attention. You did move a lot, but I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing, because I think it may have worked for you. But yeah, I mean, if anything, just maybe you stay a little more center.
Caroline, it was a good speech. You're a very likable speaker. If you're going to move 3 times, and because you have a very active kind of frame that seems to jump out of itself, and so you'll see this tonight when you watch yourself on YouTube. Loved your quotes. You need to say who Brian H. McGill is if you know,
Okay.
according to the writer, or if you know. It's good to give your quotes even added credibility. I think everyone knows Maya Angelou, but I think that your quotes really added a nice salt and pepper to your beginning, and that was really good, and it showed that you were really being conscientious about the experiment. On the back, I want to say something a little bit about this. I think that when you were saying that it was sort of a fight with yourself, because you were saying you complimented somebody, and if it was insincere, you really didn't like her shoes, and then that is a problem. You weren't speaking the truth, and then I agree with you. But if you can find some good and be hearty in your approbation and lavish in your praise, this is right out of Dale Carnegie, you're going to be liked and be respected, and it's a respectful thing to say. And people like to be complimented. If you haven't figured that out, you'll figure this out by now. And the fact that she remembered you and you remembered her shoes made her feel good. And so you should contemplate about that too. On the ugly, I also don't agree this was necessarily ugly. It was probably uncomfortable for you because I think you expected her to bow down or something, but what I was after with this thank you so much is just to really mean it, and if she's busy, you go on with yourself, but you meant it and you did it, and that was the end of it. And you can't always expect a busy cashier to go, oh wow, she thanked me so much, and get that kind of reaction. The good was you figured out that generating respectful vibrations during conversations can be a very powerful thing to do, and I think that's positive. What you learned was well communicated. You could have been a little slower and a little more vocal variety in your presentation. But overall, good job. Thank you. All right, well, we're out of time. We'll finish these up on Thursday and begin some of the introductions. If you don't have a study buddy, come and see me, and we'll do something about that. Maybe. How do I stop this? I do this.